With NHL hockey officially just under 1 month away, Mock Draft Mondays roll on for draft prep here on the latest episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, drafting from the first and the sixth positions. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Another Mock Draft Monday on tap, my friends, means even more draft preparation, so you're dominating your upcoming seasons. What is good, guys? Welcome back inside the lab. It's the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, your daily 30-minute source for all things fantasy hockey. Mr. Rodin, today we're drafting out of the first and the sixth spots, and some of these angles for a lot of our GMs out there are going to sound repetitive, but you can never afford to miss an angle that you may have in another mock draft. We're going to be taking a look from the first and the sixth positions, breaking down some other players perhaps that we haven't gone after before. But what I said off the top holds true. Hockey is less than a month away, my friends, meaning listener league drafts are coming up for both of us, but all leagues are activated. It's go time, and I'm fired up.
We are fired up, of course, doing Monday mock drafts all the way up until the season starts. Flip and I are going to do our best to try and set up a mock draft with some of you listeners, get some of the listeners into a mock draft with us. It's just been a little bit tough on our ends with our hectic schedules to start off the fall of September right now, but we're going to do our best to try to get a mock draft in with our listeners before the season starts. So stay tuned in to any details to come for next Monday mock draft. Again, same format. What you see is what you get: 2 centermen, 2 left wing, 2 right wing, 4 defensive spots, 2 goalies. We're going first and sixth position in a 10-team league. So this is not one of those leagues where you're going to find a lot of those, you try to find those deep cuts, those deep players when you're in a 16-team league that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Again, for Flip and I, we're usually in a 16-team league, but when you get into a 10-team league, there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of value with a lot of really talented players up here. So you're going to get some really good picks in there. And again, when you're drafting first overall, it's pretty much set in sound on the top 2 guys in either Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. I mean, when you look at their average draft position right now, Connor McDavid is the clear-cut consensus. It seems like he has an ADP of 1, and then Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, and Nikita Kucherov are right there. Some were getting drafted at 2.54. So I am going to go with my boy Nathan McKinnon. I believe he is the top fantasy hockey asset that you can have. Again, you can go either or. But for me, I think the shot volume that he brings, again, point potential of over 115 plus points. You can't go wrong with either of those guys. I prefer Nathan McKinnon over McDavid.
And by now, you're likely, just like us, feeling very comfortable with what to do with whatever position you get in your draft for the first round or 2. After that, Steele, and that's what today's episode really is about, is it's never going to be an exact science. Yes, we're employing all kinds of new strategies these days for goaltenders or otherwise, but you have to be nimble and you have to be flexible. The fact that Leon Draisaitl is still on the board here for me at 6 Steele is an absolute steal, no pun intended.
It's a shocker.
I would have been okay with Kaprizov there at the 6th overall spot as well, because we've spoken at length about what we expect from him. By the way, it's sounding like his contract could be upwards of $16 million per Steele. The Minnesota Wild are going to do the right thing and secure that player with a massive bag. He deserves it. I am very grateful to be getting Leon Draisaitl here at the 6th spot. You just mentioned his average ADP, 2nd or 3rd for sure. So for him at 6, I'm absolutely happy with that for a steal. And you know what I'm probably going to do with my next pickup here at 15th overall? I'm going to be starting to target a blue liner, which that's just how I roll, Steele. I want to get one of these top guys that are still on the board. Werenski. I'm still looking at some other names that you could slide down. Even Bouchard I'd be happy with. Here in this spot, and we're buying into Columbus this year, I'm going to take my first D-man off the board, Zach Werenski, 23 goals, 59 assists last year, and just under 300 shots on net. He's a beast, fantasy or otherwise.
Yeah, good pick. I think again, you're going to find a lot of value with these players. I wouldn't have gone Zach Werenski myself this high, but he is a second-round draft pick. I don't think I would have taken on the turn. Again, I think we're talking about a pick or two difference here, but
Sure.
when you look at some of the overall wingers and just forwards in general right now, there's just so much value to be had. And again, you see Artemi Panarin go you see him go 16th or 17th overall, which is somewhere he's fallen into right now. I've got to look at somewhere on my next draft. I'm drafting 20th in the second round. Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Evan Bouchard is there as well. I actually think I am going to go with Sam Reinhart in this position at the last pick in the second round, a guy who has put up over 35 goals the last few seasons. He can put up 80 points. He's really good on the power play, really sharp shooter,
puts power play
volume, puts up a ton of shots as well, brings the physical aspect too. So when you're in that banger league, a guy that can get goals, points, power play points, and hits with shots, he's an all-around asset. I like Sam Reinhart, who also has that dual eligibility. I'm still on the clock here. I'm going to go Braden Point. You know, it chose Jack Ottinger for me, so I had to go with Jack Ottinger there, actually. But I would have liked to go Braden Point. And, you know, I was saying that in the last episode about drafting wingers and defensemen first. But a guy like Braden Point, again, to me, gets overlooked and undervalued for what he brings. Very, very consistent in his game. You've got Kucherov, you've got Gensel, you've got Hedman. So much to like in Tampa Bay. And, again, a guy that's just really sound and set down the middle for Tampa.
And some of these forward positional projections are obviously interesting at this point in time. Matthew Tkachuk's injury opens up some concern for not only the Florida Panthers, but GMs are going to have to pick some other wingers. I want to take the best player on the board here in Sidney Crosby in my gut, but I'm going to go to the wing. We talked about how deep that the center position is. Passed on some really good players to take Matt Boldy. I want to balance out my wings. I think Matt Boldy is in for an absolutely massive year. What would he have done with a full healthy season of Kirill Kaprizov on that top power play unit alongside him, Steele? We love Matt Boldy on this show, and we've just really highlighted lately how deep the center position is. Do I love Sid? Absolutely. Do I love Nick Suzuki as well? Two very attractive centermen. What I get with dual eligibility with Matt Boldy, left and right wing, and we know how thin the right wing and left wing market is compared to how many B centers you can still get. I got to be taking a shot on a huge star on the rise in Matt Boldy. That's my opinion, Steele, because I'm probably going to go back out to the wing once again because of all of these we've done have really indicated to me that these wing positions, you got to load up early before they get too thin. You can wait and get some really good centermen, I think, later in the draft.
Yes, you can. And I like Matt Boldy exactly where you had him. Again, we're going to break down the first two rounds later this week or sometime in the next couple of weeks. The top, we're going to give our consensus on where each player should be getting drafted. Again, more of a personal take here, but going to be very close to what all of the outlets are projecting for these guys as well. But we're going to give our 2 cents and our opinion, which we do, of course, on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast every single day. I like Matt Boldy. He's got the dual eligibility. You also get Jason Robertson, a guy, again, who's also being maybe a little bit overlooked right now. And again, especially with all those trade rumors that were going on, his name out there on the trade deadline, which was very surprising to see as well. So that was shocking to me. I'm going to get my first left winger, and it's Philip Forsberg. The fact that I can draft Philip Forsberg in the 4th round right here is phenomenal.
Yep.
I like that a lot. A guy, again, that gets a lot of points. He's a goal scorer at heart, but he can put up 70+ points. He's going to bring the physical aspect. Hopefully the power play is better when Roman Yossi's back in there. And again, maybe those veteran players can start clicking. I'm also going to pair Philip Forsberg up with Clayton Keller. This, to me, I've said this so many times this season or this off season going into the year. I am so excited to watch this Utah Mammoth club, especially Clayton Keller. I think he's right there knocking on the door of superstar potential. I think he's honestly there at this point, but to really get his name out there for everyone to notice for what he brings to the table, Clayton Keller is going to have a really big season, along with guys like Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Mikhail Sergachev, and Karel Vejmelka in the blue paint.
I think it's safe to say we're drinking the Utah Kool-Aid. I'm going to make my next pick here at 46th overall, Steele. Right now, I got Draisaitl, Boldy, and Robertson. Werwenski on the blue line. I'm going to wait another round or two for sure for my goaltenders. We know we've been doing that. That's been working out for the most part. Will that always shake out on draft night? Perhaps not. I'm going to go with a blue liner here, and I hope he's still there. I'm all in on Lane Hudson. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. We can talk about more of your picks coming up right after the break. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, where right now, new customers need to be getting in on all of the NFL action and get it kicked off, where new customers with a $5 bet and hit get 300 in bonus bets back in your account in play. Preseason odds, they're all there for you on the FanDuel app. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet for 300 back in bonus bets.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We have an important request. We want to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer any questions you have about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for helping us out. We really do appreciate all that love and support we get all season long. It really means the world to us seeing all of our listeners, converse with us, leave the comments, the kind comments on the channel as well. I'm back up here on the clock. Yes, I've got to get my first defenseman here, and it's got to go to my boy, Mackenzie Weegar. Fills out all those peripherals I love, shots, hits. I think he can still be a player that can put up 50-point potential, especially with guys in the lineup. They just signed Connor Zary to a contract, Matthew Coronado that you just talked about the other day as well. And again, Nazem Kadri, who's been sort of overlooked the last little bit. In the last few mock drafts that we've been doing. I'm actually going to go ahead and take my second defenseman as well. And I'm going to most likely go with Jake Sanderson. I just think he has so much potential to put up 60 plus points this season, especially if that power play is dominant, which they should be with guys like Tkachuk and Stützle and Dylan Cousins in there now. So Jake Sanderson, I am going to reach on where he is, again, technically projected right now. I believe he was ranked 76th. I took him at that 60 spot. I'm okay with reaching on Jake Sanderson because he's a guy that can also fill out all those peripherals that I'm looking for.
And let's not forget, when the Ottawa Senators are clicking on the power play, they are definitely a top 10 unit or better. And they have taken that step. We've said it repeatedly. This is what's going to happen at this point of the season before we get to the puck drop, Steele. We've been saying a lot of these things all summer long, but if you've been holding it down and taking in the pod most days, you'll have these angles covered when you're ready to go into draft night. Jake Sanderson, I love this pick. I'm up on the board here, 66th overall. I've got some names that are here at the center spot, Steele. I did take Wyatt Johnston. He's currently got that dual eligibility. I see him going in at the right wing spot on my team. That was my last pick. I see Nazem Kadri here as a player that I very much like. I see Dylan Larkin. I see Dustin Wolf, though, Steele, and I'm okay to take this goaltender here. And I understand in a lot of leagues, we could definitely wait. And that might be a little bit early for Dustin Wolf. I totally get those angles.
Yeah, maybe.
You could have probably waited, and he's going to go in much later rounds. Here in this spot, I wanted to try and do something a little differently for my draft today because we've done the strategies that we'll usually employ, and let's see how my team shakes out at the end. Because for me, Steele, Dustin Wolf is already on the doorstep of Vezina caliber goaltender, in my opinion. Small sample size, and you might not be buying into the Flames as much as me. I'm going to take Dustin Wolf here early on the early side. I'm going to see how the rest of my team shakes out. Hit me with your take on that. I'll take another draft pick, and we'll keep going here.
I think there's a lot of potential. Like, again, this is still a team that I believe can make the playoffs. I'm not going to say they're a shoe-in, but it's going to be a tough battle. Again, we like teams like Utah. I'm not going to say San Jose, but there's a lot of young guns there that can really push this team. I know what you're getting at, though. Ahead of where they are right now. So when you look at Dustin Wolf, I think it is early to take him, especially in a 10-team league where you can find a lot of value in goaltenders later in the draft. I get where you're coming from. I like the pick. I like the potential. He played outstanding last season. So I'm fine with that because obviously you couldn't take your boy Jake Ottinger because I snagged him in the 3rd round.
Yeah,
but again,
auto draft.
lots of goaltenders to pick from. I am ecstatic that this player just fell to me. A little bit surprised that Dylan Guenther went 78th overall in this draft. I was hoping to get him maybe the next round or in round 10.
Little
but
high.
I got to go with Travis Konechny. I think this guy has all the tools to be, again, a superstar. Again, it's tough where he's playing in Philadelphia and how the organization has kind of folded up or kind of like exploded the last couple of years with everything that's transpired. But Travis Konechny, a guy, again, that has the potential of 70 points. He can put up 30 goals. The power play is where the negative aspect of his game comes in. So that one's tough. That one is tough because of how bad special teams has been. But again, a guy that just fills out all those peripherals. He brings the grittiness to the game. I also just went ahead and picked up Timo Meier, and I like those 2 picks back to back. Fills my right wing position, but they also both have the dual eligibility left wing, right wing for your team.
Really love the Konechny angle. I think Philly is on the come up. New Jersey Devils should also be a pretty good team, playoff caliber. I guess Timo Meier has been one of those guys that you expect him to be like a prototypical power forward fantasy stud, and then he's just perennially disappointed somehow the last couple of years. He's got it. He's got the skill set. Let's see what he can do. I'm going back to the blue line, Steele. Werenski, Lane Hudson so far, and I'm not backing off of Jackson Lacombe. I see Brandon Montour here. I see Vince Dunn, and I see John Carlson as well, and I think a lot of people would probably take those 3. When I look at Jackson Lacombe's numbers last year, 129 block shots, 70 hits. He had almost 30 penalty minutes, 43 points in only 75 games as well, Steele, and he's 24 years old, just in the center of his prime. I'm not backing off of Jackson Lacombe. He's their number 1 guy. He plays with Radko Gudas. He has the number 1 power play. He has all of the options to succeed. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to take Jackson Lacombe there. Maybe a little riskier than some of those veteran names that I threw out, but I think there is another big year coming for Jackson Lacombe, even more so. And if you're buying into the Ducks like we are as well, Jackson Lacombe is going to be a really good D-man this year in the fantasy game. Book it.
Yeah, he is. And again, you kind of look at all those, not all of them, you kind of got to exclude LA, but you look at San Jose, you look at Anaheim, there's just so much young talent that's spread around, not just in the forward group, but on the blue line, in the goal, in the blue paint as well, in Lucas Dossel, who you really like too. So a guy like Jackson Lacombe, who I think we talked about almost every other week on Waiver Wire Mondays, and just really good schedules. A guy that was putting up points. He was putting up really good productions with hits, penalty minutes, and everything else in between. So really good pick with Jackson Lacombe. Again, someone that you have a feeling about. You have a good feeling going into the season and what he can bring to this Anaheim team. So I like that a lot. You also got your boy Seth Jarvis. You follow that up with Matvei Michkov. Your team's looking really solid right now, Flip. I like the look of your players. And you also got Wyatt Johnston. So really good for you so far.
And I think, though, it does immediately point out when I do look at some of the goaltenders still on the board. And yes, I got a really good one that I am buying into heavily. But you see Stolars, Binnington, Saros, Swayman, Joey Decord. And you look at the players, like you said, the forward value I could have got taking Dustin Wolf where I did in the 7th round. I think that proves right there that my team is not as good as it could have been if I waited. So I think right there, we've already learned my team would probably be even better if I had waited a little bit and took another beast forward. I still like what I have. Take one more pick or two, or do you want to go to break now? Wrap it up, whatever you want, pal. I'm ready to go.
I'm up on the clock here in the next pick. So I'll make my next 2 picks, and then we'll throw it to break real quickly. But I was really hoping to get Sebastian Aho. I was really surprised that he even fell down to this 10th round. He went 97th overall. That is a massive steal, massive value pick. If for whatever reason, if he falls lower than the 4th or 5th round, you're jumping all over Sebastian Aho. I'm going to reach a little bit, but I still think a guy like Zach Hyman can come back this season and have a really good year again. Just a workhorse, a dog who's fighting for every single battle. Hopefully he's fully healthy, but a guy that has the potential, especially on the power play, putting up 35 goals. He can put up potentially 60 points. He's going to shoot the puck a ton. He's going to battle, hit, blocks, all those things. So Also a guy that has that dual eligibility. I am going to go back to the blue line and fill out my third defensive spot. And again, I'm going to go with a guy who I've really talked about a lot going into the season, John Carlson, who's going to quarterback the power play alongside Jacob Chikrin. I still think he has potential to put up 50 points on the blue line, over 160 shots and everything in between. So a guy like John Carlson, I think you're going to find a lot of value in him if you can pick him up after the 10th round. When we come back after the break, we still have a lot more value and insight to these mock drafts going into the 2025 season, 2025-26 season. Stay tuned for more mock draft after the break. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip, Livingstone, and Steele, Rodin. We appreciate you. We love you out there. Thank you so much for that. Flip, who are you looking at? You're 2 picks away from your next guy. Yep. Where are you going? Forward, defenseman, goalie? Where are you looking at?
I think I would like to now. So I've got in my starting lineup, I got a D hole and I've got a spot for a goaltender. So I'm going to stick to what we were just speaking to and leave my goaltender to last. I'm going to take a D-man to fill out my last spot. I got McAvoy, Pionk, Gostisbehere, Erik Karlsson. I see Drew Doughty here, and maybe this is one of those spots that you could take another player. Drew Doughty, after the injury he sustained last year, is still an absolute beautician, and he brings that peripheral value that I just love. I think the LA Kings are a good team. That's one of those spots that, to me, all of those guys are very similar in value. A bunch of veteran names. If it was a pure banger league, Neil Pionk covers the peripherals nicely, and Winnipeg is a sensational team. So I thought about him as well. Drew Doughty as my last defenseman, I'm okay with it. If he stays healthy, I think there is still a ton of value in his tank. He obviously has been a little bit banged up. Hit me with Drew Doughty there to round out my blue line, and then I'm going to go to a goaltender here, Steele. Markstrom, Ullmark, Stolars, Binnington, Saros, Montembeault. There are a ton of good goaltenders in a 10-team league, and I think that answers the question that we said before. Was it too early for Dustin Wolf? I think it was, because look at all of these good options I could still have here in the 11th round. 12th round.
No, I mean, yes, 12th round. I'm also looking at my next D-man, again, filling that last spot. And I'm going to take a shot on Alexander Nikishin of the Carolina Hurricanes. You know, yep. I got to do a little bit more research, look at some
getting a lot of attention.
He's getting a lot of attention right now, and for good reason. From what I've heard from what I've read online, and from what I'm hearing, again, just watching some from sports outlets on how everyone is looking at Nikishin right now. This is a guy that can move the puck. Again, he's not going to jump off the page right away offensively, and he actually was just taken. So I'm going to have to kind of fall back on a fallback plan here, and I'm just going to go with Gustav Forsling, who I just really like to fill out those peripheral formats. Again, not going to jump off the page offensively, but he's going to round out my D-core right there. I'm going to look to, you know what, in this position right now, Anthony Stolars is on the board.
Your boy.
Logan Cooley sitting right there.
Ooh.
This one's a tough spot for me. I'm going to take the second goalie. I'm going to go with Anthony Stolars. I really like that tandem of mine and Jake Ottinger and Anthony Stolars, guys who are going to get a lot of wins. Stolars, obviously the negative aspect of him is maybe splitting time with Joseph Woll, but I still think he's going to be a stud between the pipes, and he's going to be a lot of value, especially for getting him in the 13th round.
Yeah, I like your confidence in this player. And at this point, there's not really many angles other than the concussion and Joseph Woll to eat into minutes that you can really throw at Anthony Stolars, because he was so sensational last year. He was a big reason why you had some success on a couple of your teams. However, that 50-50 potential split and the injury is something that I'm not going to put as much stock into him. I took Linus Ullmark ahead of Anthony Stolars, a goaltender to me that is going to get far more starts in the cage, and we love what's going on in Ottawa. Anyway, Linus Ullmark and Dustin Wolf are my 2 goaltenders, Steele. Now we got 4 bench slots to round it out. Obviously, you'd like to kind of get a little bit balanced. I see a guy in Nazem Kadri. He is technically the highest ranked player still on the board. I don't have a backup centerman yet. He is a surefire, purebred centerman who also brings 270 plus shots a year. He throws his body around a little bit, not as much as earlier in his career. I'm on the Calgary Flames train a little bit. I like Nazem
Yes, you
Kadri.
are.
Kind of steady as she goes, though, with Naz.
Yeah, it really is. And again, that's been a player that I've been seeing in these mock drafts that has really slid down the draft board. And it's surprising again, because you're seeing some of these guys. I mentioned Rupe Hintz. I've said Nazem Kadri's name time and time again over the last couple of weeks. And it's really shocking to see his name fall that far down. So if you can pick him up where you just did in the 14th round, that is a huge value pick for a guy that, yeah, maybe the team won't do well every single night. Maybe they miss the playoffs, but they're still going to he's still going to put up a ton of points. He's going to lead them in the point production, in goals, most likely. He's going to put up hits. He's going to put up a ton of shot volume. So I like that pick a lot. I am going to take a centerman because I am lacking centerman right now. I only have Nathan McKinnon and Sam Reinhart. I'm going to fill it out with my boy Joel Eriksson Ek. If he's healthy, he's one of the best utility players in the game, fills out all those peripherals you're looking for, plays with Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy on that top line. I'm also going to take with this next pick in the 15th round, Andrei Svechnikov.
Ah, nice. I was going for him.
I am so stoked that he has fallen this far. And I'm loving the look of my team right now because I have a lot of wingers who have dual eligibility. Every single winger I have, the only winger I have that doesn't have dual eligibility is Philip Forsberg. He's only a left winger. Every other player I've picked on the wing has that dual eligibility. So I have that flexibility to potentially make a trade if I need help on the blue line, if I need help down the center position or in the blue paint, even though I think I'm sound there. I like having that dual eligibility because it gives me a little bit, it gives me wiggle room and flexibility to make some trades.
And a lot of those will fluctuate as camp starts to shake out. They'll change. They'll be solidified until we really see how coaches are deploying them. But a lot of them will still maintain dual eligibility. I'm taking a look at a whole bunch of players here, Steele. And I just thought about this. If this was the case of normal drafts and 16 teams, I might look to snag a little bit of goaltending insurance, knowing that the waiver wire is so thin that if one of my goalies struggles or goes down, I want a guy. That's not the case here. There's going to be a whole bunch of really good goalies on the waiver. So I'm looking to another forward. I did want the guy that you just took off my table in Svechnikov. Gabriel Velarde plays on the top line with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele in Winnipeg. That's a full stop moment. You might not necessarily love his all-around game. It's not very sexy, Steele. He got a long-term extension for a reason. He's good around the net, and you're playing with one of the best forwards in the game in Kyle Connor. Mark Scheifele just had a career year, and they're backstopped by the best goaltender in the league. That's another team who will once again return to the top of the table, and you got a first-line winger, Steele, as my second last draft pick. That's the perks of a 10 GM league, but I like Gabe Velarde here for some offensive push as my second last pick.
Really good pick. Again, you're in a 10-team league. You're going to find so much value, especially down the middle, that you can wait on some of these centermen. And Gabriel Velarde is like the perfect example of what we're trying to explain right now. You're going to find these centermen, especially, again, your last two centermen. You got Nazem Kadri in the 13th and Gabriel Velarde in the 15th, I believe. So those are outstanding value picks, especially right down the middle. Great picks on your behalf. I'm looking, again, like I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, because there's going to be so much goaltender availability on the waiver wire. I'm not going to fill that final bench spot with a third goaltender. You can just find one on waiver wires when you need to pick one up. Yep. I'm looking at Ivan Demidov of the Montreal Canadiens. I think right here with this last pick, he only has the right wing eligibility, so only has that one position slot, but a guy that has the potential to put up 30 goals on the high side. He can put up over 60 points. He's going to get some power play one time potentially. He could put up over 200 shots. Just a very skilled asset, and we saw that in that limited time last year with Montreal, the last regular season game, and then into the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Ivan Demidov. I really like the look of this team right now.
Yeah, me too.
From this perspective, Nathan McKinnon, Sam Reinhart, Philip Forsberg, Keller, Konechny, Meyer, Weegar, Sanderson, Carlson, Forsling, Hyman, Eriksson Ek, Svechnikov, Demidov, and my goaltenders, Jake Ottinger and Anthony Stolars. And again, like I said, I really like that I have a lot of dual eligibility wingers, because when looking at my defensive group right now, I might need some help on the blue line. So I would be able to trade some of these wingers who have high-end potential for 70, 80-plus points and kind of get some help on the blue line. But I really like the look of this team of mine. Yeah. Let's go over to your team.
Bonuses of 10 GM leagues. So I totally like it. And you know what, Steele? I'm going to throw this out there right now, and it's obviously propped up by you and I always doing 14 or 16 team leagues. So I'm obviously ready for the championship with this squad. But I think this might be the best mock draft that I've had. And even with taking Dustin Wolf early, this is looking good for me here. Draisaitl and Wyatt Johnson at the center position, technically. You got Wyatt Johnson currently going to go right wing probably. Anyway, Boldy and Robertson, Jarvis and Michkov on the blue line, Rowensky, Hudson, Lacombe and Doughty, Wolf and Ullmark in the cage. And then I love my bench as well. Kadri, Peterka, Velarde, and rounding out my team with Aaron Ekblad for a little bit of blue line love. I want to say that that's probably, if not the best, one of the best mock draft teams that I've had in a long time.
Lots of value in those 10-team leagues, and that's what we're providing for you on today's episode. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Stay tuned in all week long. Division breakdowns, predictions, bold predictions from both Flip and I. We're going to break down the top 32 picks in the upcoming fantasy hockey draft. 16-team league. The first round and the second round will be coming soon as well. So stay tuned in for all you need to know for this upcoming fantasy year. We appreciate you out there, and we'll see you next time.
Go Bills.